Stop calling it generosity when you're actually just trying to buy a sense of security. You're overfunctioning because you don't believe you're allowed to exist without being useful. You've signed a contract to fix everyone else's house while yours is literally falling apart. Think about the last time your phone pinged. If you felt that physical jolt of urgency, that immediate I have to say yes reflex, I need you to understand that that isn't loyalty. That is a safety tax you're paying because you're terrified of the silence that happens when you're unavailable. You've turned your peace into a free resource that everyone else is allowed to mine. You're dropping your own life, your own focus, your own nervous system safety the second someone else has a minor inconvenience. You're wondering why you're perpetually exhausted, but the math is simple. You are running a 24/7 emergency room for people who wouldn't even check your pulse if the roles were reversed. Stop subsidizing everyone else's crisis at the expense of your own structural integrity. I get it, because I spent all of my life as an unpaid therapist in my own circles. And the last few years I fell into a very specific trap. I thought that my relationships were going to get healthier because I was getting healthier. I was doing the work. I was regulating my nervous system, doing breath work, journaling, setting boundaries. I honestly believe that if I stayed calm and grounded enough, the relationship dynamics would naturally balance out. I thought that my evolution would force theirs, but I was blinded by my own progress. I wasn't actually growing out of the dynamic. I was just using all my inner work to become a more efficient shock absorber for all their drama. I was so good at staying calm that I didn't realize I was still self-abandoning, just with a lower heart rate. If you are healing just makes it easier for people to lean on you without them ever having to change, then you aren't really evolving. You're just decorating a building with a broken foundation and calling it a renovation. You're just becoming a higher quality version of a doormat. You didn't just stumble into this dynamic, you built it. By constantly overgiving, you laid the foundation for them to underfunction. But here's the good news. If you are the architect of this mess, then you can create the blueprints to actually change it. So let's look at the math, because architects don't guess, they measure precisely. Most of us aren't just too available in our relationships. We are also overly pursuing. We're the ones sending the just checking in texts. We are the ones doing the emotional heavy lifting. And we are the ones keeping the connection on life support. But just step back and look at the investment contrast. If you are pouring 90% into a connection and they are giving 10%, that 80% gap is a debt that's eating you alive. You are literally funding their comfort with your own depletion. And here's the hardest thing that I ever had to admit to myself. When I finally stopped pursuing, when I finally pulled back to see if they'd meet me halfway, they didn't. They just let the connection go cold. And worst of all, they didn't even notice the bridge was gone because they weren't the ones standing on it. Some of your relationships only exist so long as you're the only one working on them. That isn't a bond. It's a hostage situation where you're the only one holding the rope. You aren't being kind by doing this. You're being some form of manipulative. You're trying to create a debt of gratitude so that they won't leave you. But you can't buy loyalty from people who don't even value themselves enough to show up. If you want different results in your life, if you want to actually feel fulfilled by your relationships instead of constantly just feeling used, there has to be drastic changes in how you value your own time and energy. Cleaning up your side of the street is a solo choice. You can lay a perfect foundation, you can have the most beautiful blueprints in the world, but you cannot build a balanced two-sided relationship by yourself. It is physically impossible. If the only thing holding it together is you doing 100% of the heavy lifting, then you have to let it fall. Your fear is valid. It's terrifying to watch a structure collapse, especially when you spent years trying to save it. But you have to stop paying the bill for a relationship they're not even showing up to. You have to clear the site of these one-sided ruins before you can even see who is willing to bring their own bricks to the table. You are not a reservoir for other people's trauma. You are a powerhouse for your own life. It's time you start acting like it. Stop waiting for them to give you permission to prioritize yourself, because they're never going to. We're done with the mental gymnastics. We're done understanding people at the cost of hurting ourselves. So this week we're changing the protocol. I'm not asking you to have a confrontation or send a long paragraph explaining yourself. I want you to just stop the maintenance. Pick one connection that feels more like a solo project and pull back your energy and effort by just 50%. Don't initiate, don't fix the silence, and don't offer a solution before they even ask. You just need to sit in that silence, in that gap, and observe the data. If they don't reach out, let that silence be your structural report. I know how brutal it is to realize and own up to the fact that you were the one that was holding the entire relationship together. But it is so much better to stand in an empty room than to be a convenience for someone who doesn't even respect your own time and energy. Stop holding up the ruins and start being the architect of your own peace. You're the only one who can make that choice in your life. You're the only one who can break these patterns. If this hit home, stick around and subscribe. If you're anything like me, then we've got a lot to rebuild this year.